Hey there, everyone. Dr. Beth Westy here, and I wanted to pop on and chat about how women lose weight and what things do you really need to be tracking for you and your body. This is something that, oh my goodness, women get super frustrated with because they will oftentimes go to the scale. You can see I have that listed last here, right? And that's what you're measuring your success off of, just what a scale says. But really, one thing to kind of think about is when you have a health goal, when you have a weight loss goal, when you have a goal of shifting your body composition in some way, it's important to really look at the entire scope of everything, not just, oh my gosh, I want the scale to go down, because that may not necessarily be in line with what you really want to have happen and accomplish. And as you age, as you go through life and different phases of life, right, as your body changes and your hormones change, it's going to be different and a different journey to get to and even stay at certain phases and certain goals and certain maintenance levels. So I talk about some of these things in my book, The Female Fat Solution, which is on Amazon. There is so much content in here. I actually have an entire section called The 7 Bodies of Eve, where I talk about the female body and different phases of your life, and then different nutritional tweaks that you can make. So for example, and I've had this conversation, I can't tell you how many times in the past week, women who are in menopause, like perimenopause, menopause, and this is the frustrating thing for women is that they go through this phase for either a year, 10 years, maybe more. You know, it's not the same for everybody. And the typical thing that I hear day after day, honestly, is I'm healthy, I eat healthy, I work out, all these things. I didn't have a problem with my weight before, or if I did, I could do these things and it would take care of it, but I've changed nothing and I've put on 6 pounds, I've put on 12 pounds, I've put on weight and it won't come off. What the heck? Ugh. So one of the really frustrating things about that, honestly, is that, yeah, you didn't change anything and all of a sudden your body changes. So you have a different body that you now have to work with. So the number one tip for that I'll just tell you, this is a little bit of a side tangent, but I can't not tell you as I talk about this, is that at that point in your life, your body does not upload protein the same way that it used to. So it takes, and like these are things that you can research this. Like I'm not the first person to say this, but I am just so adamant about getting this information out for women. So also, if this information is helpful for you, I would so love and appreciate you clicking that share button, sharing this with other people and other women so that they can know this information and not be stuck and frustrated. But it takes more protein to accomplish the same result as it used to for you. So you need to increase your protein, even if you eat a lot of protein, even if you eat really clean. It can be any type of protein, plant-based, animal-based, whatever. It needs to be more though, because it takes more protein to accomplish the same result when your hormones shift and change. That's as simple as that. Yeah, and that will start to move you in the right direction. Of course, there's a ton of other things that you can do, right, to get your energy back and really tone up after that. But that's a big thing to start with. Okay, whoo! Sarah, yes, more protein. Yes, more protein! All the protein, right? See, I get so excited about talking about protein that I'm not even talking about the things that I was going to talk about. I also have a podcast, The Female Health Solution. If you guys haven't listened to that, check it out. Get some really exciting episodes coming up. And I will put a link below this video if you have a question on anything. If you realize, oh my gosh, that's me. Oh my gosh, what you just talked about is totally me. I need help. You can click the link and schedule a call. I'm more than happy to chat with you about different things you can do to move your health in the right direction. All right, so when we talk about weight loss for women, it's totally different for women than it is for men. And the measurements, and the thing that just kind of kills me, like, I get that, yes, you should, like, take, like, a scale as part of it and all these other things, right? But when you go to the doctor and they, like, put you on the scale and they'll be like, oh, like, you gained 10 pounds since you were here last time, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but does that tell you, like, why? Or, maybe you wanted to gain 10 pounds of muscle. Maybe you're training for something. You know what I mean? Like in our society, the scale is like weighed so heavily in our health. Did you see the pun I just made? Did you get that? Oh my god. Sorry. Anyway, but it's given a lot of emphasis for overall health, But for women, especially if you're under stress or you're going through different hormonal things, it really, thanks for the laughing emoji, Sarah. It really does depend on where your body's at. So it's not just about the scale. Again, the scale is like ... way down here on my list. So it's about a lot of other things first. It really, really is. And it's so unfortunate when women get pressured, when that's all that's out there in society, and that's all that's kind of talked about is, what does the scale say? What does the scale say? Right? Come on. When we look at measurements and really taking into account for women how to track how your hormones change, the first thing that I'm going to talk about here is when to really take accurate account of your results. So I'm going to put day 1 up here. Day 1 is the first day of your period, right? That's when your cycle starts and everything. So that's through the first week, right? So that'll go into, wow, that was messy. Week 1, week 2, week 3, right? Week 4. So you have roughly 4 weeks, right? If your cycle is longer or shorter or whatever, totally fine. That's normal for you. But this is roughly, how your body shifts and changes throughout the month. Now, if you're measuring and tracking any of these things, which you should be taking into account. And really, for some of these things where you're like, like inches you can measure, but how do I measure my energy? Do it on a 0 to 10 scale. Keep track of it on your notes in your phone, or even on your calendar. That's how I would take care of things. I would put a reminder in my calendar on my Google Calendar, set an alert, and then it would just take me 2 seconds to be like, how has my energy been recently in the past, week or so? Has it been good? Has it been not good? Has it been up or down? And then I'll rate my energy on a 0 to 10 scale. 10 is that I have all the energy that I could have and more, right? But, oh, look, it's a 7 out of 10. Great. So kind of keeping going with tracking your measurements. The one thing I will tell you is that as you start to eat more protein and things like that, you will get more energy. So you'll get to a point where you're like, I didn't even know I could have that much energy. So your bottom scale will slide a little bit. But overall, again, it gives you a good reference point when you can track how many hours you're sleeping, or if you're like, oh, I'm sleeping really deep. Great. Again, 0 to 10 scale. And track that, and again, keep track of it. You can put it in your calendar with your reminder in the notes. And I've done that then when I go through and actually take the data over the past 3 months, I have to go back and get it if I don't put it in a different place. But, you can write it down on a piece of paper and keep it on your dresser too. I've done that as well. But when you're measuring these things, you want to measure and compare all of these things against the same week, month to month, right? So you want to do this for month 1, right? And then month 2 here, and compare this way. A lot of times women get thrown off because they'll take their measurements and they'll be measuring themselves or weighing themselves in week 1, and then all of a sudden they'll weigh themselves or measure themselves like right here, and they're like, oh, I gained a few pounds. Yeah, you may have, probably, because especially with where your hormones are at, your body will gain weight. There are some women who gain and lose like 5 pounds. Easy. 5 pounds can be 10 pounds, just throughout the month. And that may be your normal. And that's normal, right? So if you're weighing yourself here and then you notice you weigh more here, like that's not something you need to feel bad about. That's just where you're at. So then you would weigh yourself here, but take your measurement the next month during the same week for you. And that's where you would compare your results. And it's the same thing with all of this, because these things are also affected by your hormones. Crazy, right? Right? Yes. So your energy is affected by hormones, your sleep, your strength, your stamina, inches, scale. Again, all of it affected by hormones. So taking it in that pattern is going to be really life-changing for you. Is it annoying to have to wait an entire month to take your measurements again to really compare? Yes, it's annoying because everybody wants to see results right away. Mm-hmm. Yes, I get it. But it makes a big difference when you're looking at the bigger picture of, what? Am I really making this progress or not? That's the thing to kind of keep in mind and track. All right, so energy, Energy and sleep. These are some of the first things that people notice when you that women should notice when you make a change. More protein, eating clean, all these things, right? The 12-week program that I have where I work with women more one-on-one, these are the first things that I want to improve, energy and sleep. If it's not improving your energy and sleep right away, then we want to work towards seeing an improvement in that area. Taking it at least, if you're like at a 3 out of 10, taking it to at least a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Yeah, and that you can make progress from there too. Sleep, it can be sleeping deeper, more hours of sleep, falling asleep easier. There's a lot of different areas to improve for people's sleep. But those are the first things to shift. Sometimes it takes even a couple of weeks to notice that shifts. Nina, you love the program. Yeah, Nina! Awesome, right? Yeah, Nina's doing the 12-week program and she's doing amazing. And it's incredible to go through and see and feel these changes and differences. But so for some women, they notice it within a few days. Some women notice it within a few weeks, so every body is different. And sometimes it depends on how much stuff you've been through before you got started in making this shift and change. Now, the biggest thing that's really hard for women to focus on is, again, not focusing on the scale at all right away. It's focusing on this. Why is that so important? Because you can make a really quick shift in the scale by cutting calories and everything else. Honestly, if I took the next 2 weeks, and I'm not going to do this because I'm an athlete and I have to perform, so I take care of my body very differently. But if I all of a sudden cut my calories in half over the next 2 weeks, I would probably drop 15 pounds. And I'll be like, oh my God, look, you lost 15 pounds. That would be terrible. I would feel like garbage. I would have no energy. I'd be so crabby and I wouldn't feel like myself, right? So these are some really important things to just kind of keep in mind. Energy, sleep right away. And then after that, you'll notice an improvement in strength and stamina. This is especially at the gym. When you're working out, when you're pushing your body, you're like, woo, look at this. I was really pushing it. I lifted heavier weights. I was, Sarah, hangry. Yes, right? I would be hangry, yeah. I was lifting heavier weights. I was doing more. I was able to kick butt all the way through the end of my class that I was in, things like that, or having more stamina. I was able to go for a longer run, and then I still had enough energy to go to the grocery store after, things like that. That's a really big deal. That's your body getting stronger overall, like in different areas, not just, oh, look at these muscles I'm getting, which is cool, right? But, oh my gosh, I have the endurance within myself to do all these things in life. And that's a really big deal for women. Yes, we want to be healthy. Yes, we want to be fit. Yes, we want to, get to our goals, but we also want to live the lives that we want to live at the same time. And that's where the frustration comes in when you're like, I'm trying to do all these things nutrition or dietary wise, but then it totally screws up my entire lifestyle. So that's where the 12-week program I have meshes them together, and it really gets you those great results. That's huge. Change in performance perspective. Yes, change in perspective. Yes. And then after that, you're going to be looking at inches. Now, it can take time for some of those inches to shift and change. Again, some women notice it within a couple of weeks. Some women, it takes a couple of months. It just depends on your body. And I want to say, don't give up on your body. Don't give up on the process for you. If you've not heard the phrase or read the book 3 Feet from Gold, I'll give you a brief, story on it. The story is that there was a gold miner, and he, was out west during the gold rush and was digging for gold, found this vein of gold and followed it, and then it ended. And it just stopped. And so he kind of dug around and was like, crap, shoot, the gold ran out, right? There's no more gold here. I guess this is a dud. This gold mine is flat or whatever. There's nothing here. So he literally sold it for super cheap, sold the land, all of his equipment for super cheap to some guy kind of just walking by. And the guy was like, I don't know, maybe I'll be interested in buying this. So he was like, well, if it's this cheap, why not? Even if it's nothing, the land is worth something, right? Because that's what he was selling it for, because he thought there was no gold there. Well, so the guy that bought it, this is a very brief summary of the story. The guy that bought it actually hired not an ecologist, somebody who studies rocks and terrain and stuff shoot, I'm not thinking of the word. Anyway, hired somebody else who was an expert to come in and assess the land. And he was like, oh, look, the reason why this vein of gold ended here and you can't find it continuing anywhere is because there was an earthquake that shifted the earth. So all you need to do is then dig in this direction because of the way the earth shifted from the earthquake. So literally, geologist, there it is. That's it, Sarah. Thank you. Yes, geologist. Thank you, Kim. So he shifted his direction and then dug 3 more feet, vein of gold. Yeah. Like, so the story 3 feet from gold, like, don't give up. You may just have to shift your perspective, shift your thinking, shift what you're doing to really all of a sudden get that different angle. And then keep going because you are 3 feet from gold, from getting to those results. So that's the story of 3 feet from gold. There's a book. It's an amazing book. I love this book. And then huge vein of gold, and he became a very wealthy man because, again, he didn't just take it as it was, that face value, and say, oh, look, this vein of gold ended. There's nothing left, right? Anyway, okay. So keep going because your body will shift and change. If you put different stuff in, different things will happen. And then after that, that's when we look for the scale to change. Now, the scale may change throughout these things too. It may go up, it may go down. Great. But again, the bigger point is to get your body healthier, stronger, so that then you're at a different point to make the scale change. That's the thing to kind of look at and think about when you're tracking your results. What to look at your health overall. And these things are not talked about enough for women, and that they're really, really important. They're important to get to those points where you can then, okay, now I'm at a point where I'm strong enough and the scale is just going to start to change on its own. All of a sudden, it just starts to happen. It's crazy. And then again, measuring in the right weeks and comparing that against where you are, compared to the weeks before, right? Not just, oh, last week I weighed this much, this week I weighed this much. Because if your hormones change, yep, it's going to be different and not necessarily accurate for your body. Oh, hopefully that kind of makes sense. I kind of went on a tangent there. I got a little excited. So that's what I got for you guys today, talking about measurements, really keeping things in perspective. I'm just really passionate about sharing this information with women and giving you these different ideas on your health, on your body, everything else. So again, I have more information, like I said, in my book, more info on my podcast. I'll put a link below where you can schedule a call. If you want more info, we can chat. I also have a 12-week program where I work with women one-on-one. I'm also doing a belly buster challenge where I have a Facebook group and I talk about really getting some different results and shifting. It's a nighttime routine. It's pretty easy to add in at the end of the night. So if you want in on that belly buster challenge, if you're staying and listening all the way to the end of the video, Sandy's so helpful. Yay, that's great, Sandy. So if you want in on that belly buster challenge, let me know and I can add you to that group if you're not already in my Fit and Fierce Food Challenge group. It's going to be really, really fun. All right, everybody have a great night.